Good morning, everybody. It is 8:26 a.m. It's a Friday morning. I have a nut for Rhett. See, I got part of it is just like the piece of the nut, and then part of it is still partially in the shell. Let me give her a little piece. There you go, girl. Oh, I can't reach. And there's that. All right, she can go down there and get it herself. Okay, so we have been working on sort of working up and down like sort of the I don't know what you should call it, like the 30,000, 20,000, 10,000, 3,000 ground level, and trying to sort of build this application out in such a way that it's pleasant at the ground level and it's pleasant at the 30,000 foot level. And so I think the thing that makes it nice at the ground level is infrastructure. If you set up the infrastructure properly, everything just sort of makes sense in the code. But then I think the thing that makes it work really great at the 30,000 feet level would be architecture. And trying to tease out those two pieces is 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 important. Um, and then there's the way the actual application work, and that like works. So we have a game in the U.S. I know the majority of people watch this are not in the U.S., so I don't know. I think we have a game called baseball that I guess some people say is similar to cricket, and I think majority of people watch this are from India. And I know my understanding is cricket's huge in India. We have a game that's called baseball here that's very similar. I think I don't know, but the idea is that you hit the ball and then you run to bases and then you try to get around all the bases and you get a home run, or you get a point every time someone hits all the bases and stuff. And one thing that I remember when I played baseball as a little kid, maybe it was softball, I don't remember, but was that they would say keep your eye on the ball and make sure that when it's important to get to the base. It's all these other pieces are important, but when you're batting, you got to keep your eye on the ball. And that is to me is the equivalent to that in code in software development is how the application works. And so, you also have that. That's so you have your architecture, you have your infrastructure, and then you have your actual application how it works. And it's easy to sort of lose track of any of those three, but by far the most important is how the actual application works, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it is. I think if you have great architecture and great infrastructure where the application doesn't work very well, then you got nothing as far as I can tell. So we have been sort of working on infrastructure, and we created sort of this base concept of dictionaries. And dictionaries are just basically IDs that refer to something. And so at our most basic level, we have a number dictionary, string dictionary, and a Boolean dictionary. The only dictionary we're using at this time is a number dictionary. And we are using that to determine, so when I come here, the aspect ratio of these things. So aspect ratio is another thing. It's called your domain. And your domain is like whatever the general belief or practices and behaviors of whatever it is you're working on. And so that's like a whole nother thing. And general, a lot of places will have someone called a subject matter expert, someone like that, that is completely aware of the domain. Because if you write a bunch of code and it doesn't really actually work for the people, it doesn't. So in this concept, we kind of set up this idea of this ThreeJS cube, and we're working on this thing called CRUD, which is a generic software development concept: create, read, update, delete. And so we've got the create because you can create one. That's what I did when I added. You can read it because that's what it's reading it. And we have the delete part. So if you come in here and you go to this view, you have a delete button. And now we're working on the update part. So we click this button, update, and we actually show our calculated aspect ratio. So we do have a dictionary that's called our calculated aspect ratio dictionary. And we look in here, so by just looking at this, we know that it's for calculated aspect ratios. And then when we look in here, we see that, okay, it extends the number dictionary. So and and it's just basically at some point we expect anyone who works on this code to realize that a number dictionary is something that has an ID and a number. So the number, I think, it's fairly easy to infer that the number is your ID, is your aspect ratio, and the ID is whatever. It doesn't matter. It's some sort of ID that we're using. In this case, it's our aspect. There's an ID. I can't remember what kind of ID it is. I want to say it was our STID, but it's not. So the STID is the ID that we have that sort of defines everything, defines the layout. But I can't remember what this one was. But I do know, okay, so we're looking at interfaces. I do know it's something that's defined in the services, and I know I've changed it. So we have this publish thing, and let's see, ST publisher service. Can we look in here? So yeah, it's our renderer ID, our ST renderer ID, which I believe is the same as an ST ID. I believe they're the same, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, we can look in here and render ID. And I guess from an infrastructure perspective, it might be nice to have like if in the writing of it, it's somehow indicated the type of ID that you have, but I don't know. I guess someone can just try to figure that out. And then we kind of come to the conclusion that the figuring out part is like a very important part of software development, but then the architecture is a totally equally as important part of the system. And we want to make things as easy to kind of figure out as it is to like imagine to yourself all the different sorts of areas of the application and then be able to go there to make changes. So anyways, we have our aspect ratio and it comes from there, but what we're working on is our calculated ratio. So once we went from 1 to 2, a lot of the challenges became more concrete and more real, and so it was a little easier to deal with those challenges. So I started kind of going down that path, and then we kind of got all the way down to the very base level. Like we did not have the base concepts until yesterday, the base types of dictionaries, and then the fact. But basically what we want is a way to publish ThreeJS things. And I guess that is, this pane is way too big. And then, so in here, 3, we created a new publish service, and then our publish service, let's see what we have. Okay, so we have nothing at this point, but I know that we want to make an ST publisher doppelganger here. Now, you always have to balance, like, are there needs of the 3 that are more important, that are so different than the needs of ST publishing, this kind of publishing, that we need them to be the same? And I don't think so. I think basically they're doing the same thing. One is just, we're laying them out just so you know, so it's easier to sort of make sense of, okay, this is something that's coming from 3. And then we're putting the name of the 3 in the class so that it's easier to make sense of when you're coding. So when you're coding, you know you're working with 3 data because it's coming from the 3 service publisher. You know you're working with ST data because it's coming from the ST publisher. And one thing that I had said is if I could start all over from scratch again, which I'm not going to at this point, I haven't seen enough reason, I would rename this to space. And then I would rename my animations service to time. Because really, everything in here is focused on what's happening over time, and this is what's happening in space. So there's that. So anyways, I want to sort of emulate exactly the way ThreeJS, the ST one is, and the basic reason I want to do that is because the learning curve. I just want, like, once you learn how one of these works, I want you to know how all of them works. Or I want me to be able to understand how all of them works. So basically, looks like these all have like a private dictionary. They all have a signal that creates an aspect ratio dictionary, and then they all have a set calculated ratio. So basically, the second I saw this sort of triggered a thought in my head, and that's that I need to create another type. And so in my other type, um, it needs to sort of, uh, I mean, so I need to create another type. So this type comes from interfaces ST. So I want to create probably a actual aspect ratio dictionary in probably something called interfaces 3. So I'm assuming there's already an interfaces 3. Yep. And so in here in ST, it's kind of weird. Okay, so inside, okay, so I kind of went a different direction over here, and that was probably a mistake. Inside of ST, I have 3, but I probably should have 3. I don't know why I did that now that I think about it, but I do have all the 3 stuff in here. But 3 in the services world is like a is a sibling. It's at the same level as 3. So over here they're like siblings, but over here 3 is inside of ST. And then 3 is sort of a sibling to the ST dictionaries, which I don't think makes sense. So I think this is the point where we probably need to think long and hard over, like, just should 3 be a sibling? It should be consistent. If it's in services, either 3 should go inside of services or it should go to that. But I think the dictionaries makes it very obvious that um, it should be a sibling. So I don't know what happens if I try to drag this whole folder into interfaces. I know everything is going to break. So now we're way down again. So we were going. My mindset was I was going to create a thing in here, and I was going to show it, and I could get that working. I really could, and it would be no big deal. And if I was like under the gun on some sort of deadline, I would definitely be doing that right now. But since this is just me, I'm going to try to go down this other path where I move this 3 and make it a sibling um, of that one. So I wonder if there's a way to move. See, it'd be really nice if they had like a move functionality that kind of handled all that stuff. But I think what I'm going to do is just drag it up to siblings interfaces. I hate to do this when I have like when I have so many Git changes. Like I already have 17 Git changes. Um, so, you know, like kind of off the chain right now. Yep. So now I can read this 3 into interfaces. So it may just fix all the references, or we may have to manually go through and fix all the references. You never know. Hopefully it just fixes them all for us, but you just can't tell. The nice thing though is it will break everywhere until it's fixed. So, but it does take it a little bit to do it. So basically we're taking our interfaces and we're making 3 a sibling. So now 3 will have its own um, its own kind of its own section of dictionaries. Right now, like dictionaries are for ST specifically, and calculated is a ST specific property. And man, this is taking forever. But it does still say it's moving 3, so that gives you, yeah, it just couldn't do it. Um, it'd be interesting to know why something like that fails. Um, but I do think it probably makes sense to just kill this. And then go into my Windows Explorer, which the easiest way I know of to do this is to go find, reveal in File Explorer, which used to just bring it in the pane, but now I believe opens, yeah, it opens up a Windows thing. And so we want to go into our interfaces. We want to go to ST, and we want to take our 3 interfaces and make them a sibling to ST instead of a child of ST. It would be interesting to go back and watch those videos where I made that decision, because I'm sure I made it. But the thing is I knew less. Like, things have tried again. Okay, so it is not happy because it's open. And maybe that's what, maybe that would have worked. Okay, let's just try that. Let's close every file. Close all. And then try to move it. See what happens. Move. So what we have done this time is we've closed the every tab, and we've stopped the application, and so we're hoping that the ID can move 3 for us this time. And so, you know, I think, you know, and most developers, you know, you're sort of siloed into some sort of deep down low level coding kind of thing, or you're trying to figure out, you know, like how the application should work and all that. So you don't really think about, a lot of times you don't have to think about stuff like this. You just sort of make it work how it is. But you know, kind of a whole point, one of the whole points of this whole application is sort of to try this stuff out, see what works, see what doesn't work. Yeah, so it still didn't do it. Do I still have that? Nope, I don't. Okay, so now I'm going to say open. See, I almost feel like when we opened it, I wanted it to open here at ST. Reveal in File Explorer. And so we want 3 to be a sibling of ST. And I mean, like, triple, I believe, is more of like a utility or something like that. It's not really a. So I'm just hit Control X for cut, and then Control V. So it still won't. So cancel. Probably should have just left that open and then close this. I think I might have to close the whole IDE. And we might end up wanting to undo this. It's going to be so much harder to undo, because it would be nice if I had done this sort of in its own commit, like if I had everything else committed. But I'm sort of, this is why I'm still like in that getting started mode. And this is why, like, it would be very difficult for anybody to work with me at this point on this project, because like, if you were doing work, I just moved an entire folder, and this is not the first time I've done that. So until like the architecture stabilizes, like if somebody was doing a bunch of work, it could really screw them up. Like if they created interfaces in there, and then they're trying to re-merge their code back in, and the interfaces, like the whole folder that they were working in, doesn't work anymore. All right, so that is that. Let's close this welcome stream and type in npm start, and all hell should break loose. But now ST and 3 are siblings, just like they are here, which I think makes a lot more sense. I suspect ST and 3 made a lot of sense. 3 being inside of ST probably made a lot of sense when we started. but you know, like as you move forward, some things make a lot more sense. So basically, how many, does it tell us how many errors we have? It'd be kind of nice if it told us like, you have this many errors. But since it's only ran once, we can see all of them. So, and most of them are going to be that this needs to go away, the ST needs to go away. That's my guess. And I think it's important to not just like blindly work on stuff, not because it won't get done. I mean, I think you can get it done just fine without thinking through it, but like just from a mental, like at the end of the day, being able to sort of inventory how your day went and how you feel about things, it's a lot easier when you know what you did. Um, so the problem was in here. And I don't know where. What was it complaining? It was saying on line 3. ST. See, I wouldn't expect ST renderer to have moved. Because was ST renderer inside of 3? Yeah. Okay, so that's a problem too. We would really rather this renderer be inside of ST, not 3. So what's inside of here right now? This whole folder seems like it's ST specific. So now I'm starting to think, oh, okay, all of this stuff is probably ST specific. So it wasn't really, oh, I see what, this is like the stuff that sort of matches 3. All right, so let's go ahead and kill this and move it back. So it is 3 specific stuff. So instead of moving it, I needed to create a new 3 that was a standalone. All right. So let's move that back, close that, and move it back. I don't think there's going to be any issues with this. Okay. And so I could have made that work. Like if I hadn't been thinking through things, I could have just been like, oh, okay, I know this is in the wrong place. This is what I expected. But then I took a close, good, hard look at it, and I was like, oh, why is an ST thing in there? So those are the 3 ST3 interfaces is what we're looking at there. So everything should be good again because I moved it back. So cross your fingers. And what we are going to want to do is create a new folder for ST, and then we're going to want, or for 3, and then we're going to want to create a dictionary, which is an interface, and I have kind of gotten to where I'm not using the packages to create interfaces anymore. New folder 3. Oop, I spelled 3. 3. And then a new folder called dictionaries. And I think that's how I spelled it up there. And I guess that makes sense because like I don't define the actual ThreeJS interfaces. The actual ThreeJS interfaces were are defined by 3.js. You know, we didn't define them, so it makes sense that I didn't have a 3. But so this is a dictionaries for 3. So it makes sense that those would be in there. So in our 3 dictionaries, now we want to create an interface that's, oh, that's interesting. So base dictionaries should be probably in a higher shared folder too. And it should probably be wherever, see an ST, I have this triple, right? And that just defines, if I remember correctly, just defines like an X, Y, and Z. So this is more of a utilities. So I guess we need to move that over into utilities. So we're even getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this thing. But there's never going to be a better time to do this from a practical perspective. Now, if you're working professionally and you have to get something done, there's probably a way better time to do this. And if you have to get something through a PR, it'd probably be better to do this in a PR. This is kind of change that is just very, very difficult to like not be extraordinarily disruptive to other developers that are working in parallel with you if you make changes like this. But I'm going to create a utilities folder. And now what I want to do is I want to move my triple into my utilities folder. And then I want to create a dictionary folder. And this is where our is utilities, right? Utilities is fine. But maybe base or something like that might be better. Yes. Base might be a better name, but I'm just going to go with utilities now. New folder. Dictionary. See, I think dictionary makes no sense in a folder called utilities. But it does make sense in a file called, in something called base. And triple makes sense in either. So I think it makes sense to rename this to base. Rename. Let's see what happens when we rename. Base. So these are our base level interfaces. So I'm wondering if it's going to go there and fix everything for me again. See, it probably won't want to because I have that open. Now that I think about it, just close everything. It's probably not going to let me do it until I open that. And see, this is a very good example of like, I made a change early on and just missed the mark. And now it's kind of a pain in the butt to fix. Do I still have that folder open? Yes. I'm just going to kill this. All right, so it says it's still renaming. I don't think it's going to be able to, but like you always have to think in terms of QA. Would QA have tested renaming and then in the middle of renaming killing the ID? Probably not. So, but they probably would have tested turning on the ID when something is kind of messed up inside there. But maybe not. But the transpiler should automatically be able to be like, hey, this is broken. And I don't think we use triple in too many places. We're about to find out though. And just to be clear, I would never, ever, ever, ever do what I'm doing right now in a professional environment. because I've seen people do it, especially like middling developers will do this, right? Someone who's been on for like a year and a half, they've been hot shot, they're crushing it, everyone is just like blown away at how creative and smart they are, and then they start making changes like this, and then they become absolutely hated because like all kinds of people just lose all their work, and then you get two seniors go, F this, I'm out of here, I'm gonna go work someplace else. It's pretty disastrous. Oh, I never hit enter. Oh man, I gotta go. Let this thing get started. I don't quite want to leave it in this condition. So interfaces. What's wrong? Triple. Okay. ST, and I believe I need to add one more. And what? That doesn't even look right. Oh, base. Do I see base? Oh. So now it exists in base, not in. Okay, I don't know why that's not working. ST triple comes from there. Maybe if I hit save. Oh wait, actually I think that is an ST base triple. All right. Interfaces didn't change. Okay. Base. Dash. Triple. Okay, let's try this. Let's just get rid of this. Click on this. Ask for some help. It gave me the blue one, so that's good. Triple, ST triple. Maybe that was my mistake. Okay, we probably have others, and we need this. And that does make sense to me now. It's not an ST. Control V. Oh, ST geometry. Uh-oh. Did not foresee this problem. Yeah, let's get rid of this. So I'm wondering if, well, yeah, we have to, probably something screwy about ST geometry now. Oh no, I think that, no, that isn't. That is perfect. That actually belongs in geometry. Okay, what's next? Just get rid of this. Go to here, tell it to import that. Boom. Go to here. Get rid of this. Since it's the only one. Go in here. Now we're starting to kind of get into a pattern. And it doesn't surprise me that things sort of went haywire when we as now that we're working on like update. Okay, so this roll up does it make sense though? Utilities. Where is this file? This file lives, okay, so this is an ST. but it's supposed to be in base. So that maybe base needs a roll-up file like this, but I do not have time for it today. Man, I still have a bunch of these things. I really used that heck out of that. Okay, can I do it now? Base slash triple slash. So basically, I need to replace everything after interfaces with this. Oh, no, it worked. Okay, so let's just make sure that everything works a little bit. Yep. Okay, we're good. Yeah, I think that was important. I don't think there was anything I could have really done to avoid that. In the future, we did not do anything what we wanted to do. We're just exposing little flaws within the application. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.